My pack was under attack, and I was pacing, wolfless and useless, in a strange pack house. I was helpless and masked that feeling with anger and anxiety. I should have stayed and helped. I thought, but of course it hadn't been my decision. My father had insisted I be taken away. For my safety, he said. I couldn't argue with him. He was my father, but he was also my alpha, and his decisions were final. But that didn't mean I had to be happy about the situation. They were staring at me. I paced up and down inside the pack house, and they watched and whispered. I didn't care. Pack Gray, I hadn't been there for years. My mother was their alpha's friend and had mind-linked him to come get me. She'd promised I could come home when the battle was over, if that battle would ever be over. Ivy, honey, I'm sure everything will be all right. Why don't you sit down? The Gray Pack's Luna was kind to me. I appreciated that, but I couldn't stop pacing. I had to be moving. If I stayed still for too long, I started to think about what was happening back home. If my parents were safe, if my pack was winning or losing, we'd been attacked. And I was the only one who hadn't shifted. I was sent away with the pups and the old for protection. I would have been ashamed if I wasn't so afraid. I knew I'd never forgive myself if we lost the battle. I'd carry that weight for the rest of my life, always wondering if things would have been different if I was there, if I had my wolf, if I could have fought alongside my parents. Ivy. The Luna tried again, and I did my best not to snap. I'm fine. I wasn't. She knew that. But she also saw I wasn't prepared to talk about it, so she let me be. I was grateful for that. The Gray Alpha came into the pack house. The atmosphere shifted as everyone lowered their heads respectfully. He was a large man who carried himself with the dignity of an alpha. I didn't stop pacing. Ivy, how have you been settling in? He asked quietly. Fine, was my simple reply, and I saw him exchange glances with his Luna. I can show you to your room if you like, he said after a moment. I sighed. I was tired. I wanted quiet. I wanted to be away from the prying eyes and the noise and the whispering. All right, I agreed, pulling my backpack over my shoulder. It contained everything I had managed to throw inside. I'd had minutes to pack. I followed the Alpha out of the pack house into the cool night of the evening. The air didn't smell like my pack, like home. It smelled like oranges and oak trees and apple cider. Home smelled like lavender and mint and my parents. I was scared I wouldn't have a home to return to. Scared that I'd be stuck in a strange pack for the rest of my life, always wondering if I could have done more to protect my family. I was an embarrassment, a wolfless child who couldn't fight when my pack needed me most. Alpha Gray was talking. I hadn't been paying attention, and my brain worked to remember what he had been saying. I have a son around your age, he was saying. His name is Zyron. I think you two could be friends. There are not many wolves in this pack around his age. He plays with the adults or the children. It would be good for him to have a peer. I couldn't care less about his son. My mind was full to the brim with thoughts of my parents, my pack, my home. For all I knew, my family could be dead, my home burning. He's playing soccer right now, I believe, the Alpha went on. He was trying to distract me, get me thinking about something else. It wasn't working, but I did acknowledge the effort. Cool, I said simply. It was all the reply I could muster. He seemed to understand. We arrived at my room, a small guest room with a bed and a dresser. There was a door to a bathroom in the back. Will this be all right? He asked kindly. I sighed. It was hard to stay angry when my host was being so sympathetic. Yes, thank you, I said, offering a small smile. The Alpha smiled back. I'll leave you to get settled in. If you need anything, just ask, all right? I've told the pack you're to be treated as a guest. A guest. Hopefully that meant I wouldn't have to answer a lot of embarrassing questions. I wasn't prepared to explain to a whole pack how I couldn't shift, how I was wolfless. The alpha left me then, and I unpacked my backpack onto the bed. I hadn't brought much. Some changes of clothes, a blanket that smelled like home. It hit me harder then, holding the blanket, smelling my home, that maybe I wouldn't have a home to go back to tomorrow. It was an overwhelming thought. I put the blanket down on the bed, the scent of the strange pack filling my senses. I hated it. I stormed out of my room into the cool night air. The sun had fully set, and the darkness was soothing. I took a deep breath, thankful for the breeze that smelled more of the forest than the gray pack. I walked to the kitchen. I wasn't hungry, but I thought I'd get a glass of water at least. It gave me an excuse to take a walk out.